So I'm going to tell you a story about what I learned about debt from a 16-year-old, really sharp young man that really kind of opened my eyes. Well, thank you very much and welcome to Hanging Out with Popsie Guy. I'm continuing a series on how us older folks, boomers specifically, can help the Gen Z generation with financial literacy. And let's not kid each other. If they don't learn, they will be devastated financially before they even get a chance to start. So speaking of starting, so I've had a conversation with this young man. He's 16, he's a junior, going into his junior year in high school. And we start talking about money, specifically debt. And what he said to me was, well, I know I'm going to be in debt because that's just the way it is. Everybody's in debt. I'm not going to be any different. So I said, well, tell me more. Why do you think that? And he just looked at me like I'm a doofus. And he said, well, look around. Everything's too expensive. Even if I graduate high school, get a good college degree, there aren't any jobs out there. I've been watching what's going on. And how else am I going to survive unless I borrow somebody's money? I said, well, you know what? You're half right. The half that you're right on is the dismal labor market, but that is cyclical. And I shared with him my theory on what's called the pendulum, right? When the pendulum swings one way, it starts to come back the other way. And as you know, I have a lot of optimism for this country. This is the best country in the world. I know I'm going to get some hateful comments about people that say that otherwise, but I'm sticking to my guns. So I wanted to bring this young man some optimism about what his future will hold, and he doesn't necessarily have to go into debt to have a good future. Yeah, you know, if he needs to borrow money to buy a house, that's good debt. And that's really the purpose of today's video. I wanted to talk to you about how to talk to the Gen Z generation, your grandkids and other people that you know, about the difference between good debt and bad debt. Because as you know, and I keep saying this, you already know this, there is a difference between good debt and bad debt. So let's get into it. What is good debt? Well, good debt by financial definition is any money that you borrow that you're able to reinvest and earn a higher rate of return. So specifically, it could be a home, right? If you take a look at the average rate of return on a home in the past 50 years, it's not that stunning. It's in the low single digits, but that's okay. That's a momentum forward. And we're always talking about having equity in our homes, right? Well, that equity in your home could be used for future lifestyle, retirement, number one. Number two, other forms of good debt are investing in a business where you've got a good solid business model, a business plan, and you expect a rate of return over time to far exceed the amount that the debt costs you. That is a good investment. That's good debt. Just until recently, student loan debt was a good debt. But because the financial system was overtaken, the loan system was overtaken by the federal government, now everybody gets a loan. Everybody gets money from the federal government. Look where we are right now. So that can still be considered good debt if it's used wisely. There aren't that many other places that you can put good debt to use. So let's focus on the bad debt. And the bad debt, I think, is obvious. And if you look at the first two videos I did in this series, and I'll link those at the end of this, number one is the buy now, pay later, and number two is using credit cards over debit cards. So anytime you borrow money from a bank to purchase something, whether it's an experience or what you consider to be an asset, like a car, that's going to either have no return on it or it's a depreciating asset, then that's bad debt. Now you're carrying money, you owe money on something that probably you digested and left your system less than 12 hours ago, or it's a car that's way overvalued, and I'm going to sound like an old man now, but it loses money as soon as you drive it off the lot. That is so true. So the encouragement, and this young man and I talked about it, and he was really sharp. He got it, and I told him, I said, a couple of things that you may want to pay attention to is, and I know your mom probably said this to you when you were growing up, and I'm talking about you, boomer. Hey, if everybody jumps off a cliff, are you going to do the same thing? right? I mean, that was the standard line. If everybody jumps off a bridge, you're going to join them. And that's what I said to him. And he looked at me funny because it's not something that his generation is used to. I said, but you don't have to do what everybody else does to be successful. As a matter of fact, the best way to be successful in managing money is to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. So as you're scrolling on your phone and you're going through your Instagram and TikTok and you see all these seemingly wealthy, good-looking people having the time of their lives, understand that is nothing but show. That's a production to get clicks, hopefully get sponsors, hopefully earn money, and then once they shut off the camera, they're in debt up to their eyeballs. Okay? Understand that. So if everybody else is doing it, you may want to consider thinking twice before you do it. And that includes borrowing money. All right? And if you, as I said, if you watch the first couple of videos in this series, it's too easy for these folks to get their hands on money and they don't know how to manage money. And I don't mean getting their hands on money through income. I'm talking about getting their hands on money through debt. So there is the difference. So, you know, be encouraged is what I'm trying to say. If you've got somebody in your life who is open to hearing this type of talk, and I liken it to the gospel, right? A lot of you that follow Popsie Guy and are in the community, you understand what I'm about to say. You can share the gospel with somebody and they could just say, yep, not for me, and walk away. It's the same thing with talking about financial literacy for the younger generation. They may say, yeah, that's cool, Popsie Guy. You're an old guy. Times are different. Whatever happened in your life is not happening in mine, and they turn you off. But I'm here to tell you now, the basics of finance haven't changed. It's like physics. The fundamentals are the same, but people mess around with it to their own advantage. And money is the worst thing in the world for kids not to know how to handle as they grow up. Because just like anything else, if they don't learn early, they will pass it on to their kids. So I just want to spend a minute with you, show you a little bit about Innerarity Point Park. It's way too breezy to be down on the water today. I don't want to have another issue with my microphone. But again, part of the series, and we're going to talk about other things coming up. How to buy a car, whether you should buy a new car or a used car. I think you already know my opinion on that. And all the things that are really important for these young folks to know before they get out into the world and getting eaten alive by Wall Street. So again, thanks for hanging out with Popsie Guy. If you like this content, feel free to comment below or even subscribe. That would help the algorithm, would help the channel. I'm not begging. I just think that maybe you could help. If you haven't already subscribed, but thank you to those who have. Y'all have a great day and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.